So hello everyone, this is Jim here. Again, I hope you're finding these videos helpful in terms of implementing the new IBDP course. In this particular video, I'd like to talk about the music journal. And even though it's not specifically mandated in the new course, I think it's a really important component and something that's going to be very useful for all of you as teachers to implement when you're instructing this course. So let's talk about this journal a little bit. What is a music journal supposed to do? All right. So let's wander around a little bit here and say, what is this actually supposed to do? A journal is supposed to be a record of observations, thoughts, and ideas. They're not necessarily finished products. They're works in action. They're processes. It's an opportunity. It creates opportunity to evaluate skills and to practice, not just practicing your instrument or voice, but practicing creating opportunities, practicing composition, practicing arrangements. One thing we found out about journals in our investigation of journals is that it provides a self of confidence, self-booster and confidence, a sense of ownership. This is my work. This is what I did. This is who I am. It's a document of the progression of concepts and skills, not necessarily an end result, but it's a documentation where we can easily refer back to and look for inspiration, look for questions about the progression and the process of attaining skills and knowledge in this case, music. A music journal would be compared to an artist's sketchbook. It's a whole collection of ideas, of concepts, of thoughts, of different approaches, different meanings in music. And it offers a varied pathways, varied options of pathways to investigating various forms and cultures of music. And finally, it identifies the characteristics of a persona. This identifies a student. The journal pretty much is like their business card. It's their book. It says this is who I am, and I can extract from this the types of things that I covered and I did in this class. So, good music journals. What might they look like? All right, they provide opportunities for a student to be at the heart of learning. It links the theory and history to the music application. In other words, the things that they've learned, the things that they've discovered, the things that they've done in the class, it links that to the things that they perform and the things that they create. It engages in creating, performing, and research. You might remember that these are the three pillars of the new IB curriculum. It provides for a culture of inquiry, a pathway of questioning, a pathway of finding out, a pathway of learning things. They're relevant, they're usable, and they're practical. And it's owned. It's their thing. It's their learning. It's what they've done. And it's linked to real life. It's practical. And students wanting to go on, if institutions are asking, well, what is it that you do? A student can say, well, this is what I do. This is who I am. This is where I am. So what do successful music journals look like? What could we expect to see in them? Well, they're inspirational and motivating. They're real and useful for further music experiences. They include reflections from beginning concept to end product. I build time in just about every class for students to put down reflective ideas. Sometimes this has to do with specific aspects of their journals. That has to do with the DP course. Other times it's just a daily reflection. I call it their daily diary of what it is they did and what they got out of the class today. It distinguishes between the process and the product. Of course, the product is still important. It's still necessary, but it articulates the pathway that was found in discovering the product. It includes a variety of evidence, multiple angles, and viewpoints. What can you anticipate with this whole journaling idea? Well, here's some things that we've been finding out. Open and free content as opposed to dictated and copied information. Now, there's going to be times when you want to give links or you want to cover material or you want to cover history or theory or techniques and so on. Of course, that should be still included in the course. But it's not dictated by that. Students take this information, they chew on it, they process it, and they make something of it. You can anticipate journals to be very messy, and there's been a lot of discussion about how might we structure journals. We could even have a separate workshop on journal keeping and how journals might work. You can expect journals to be messy. Right now, I'm experimenting with different ideas as far as how we might want to organize a journal. Do we want to organize it in terms of their areas of inquiry, Or do we want to organize it in terms of roles, or do we want to organize it in terms of contexts? Not quite sure yet. I've done a little bit of everything with the journal, but you can anticipate it being messy at the beginning. You can anticipate it being challenging, even frustrating at times. Like, I just don't know. I've tried all these different things. I'm not finding out anything that works. Well, guess what? That's a creative process. That's an artistic process that every true artist deals with at one time or the other. There's good evidence of research and analysis, footnotes, citations, references. They're all there. We can figure out what the student has explored and investigated. It's a truthful documentation of experiences. It's what they did. It's what they found out. It's what they've experienced. It's an opportunity for feedback and critique. If a student wants to make part of their journal personal and they put it in a personal file, I absolutely respect that. But it's also an opportunity for you as their teacher to look at what they've been thinking about, what they've been looking into, what they've been investigating, what they've been creating or writing, and offer an opportunity for that to be involved in the journal. It offers an opportunity for those, I got it, a ha-ha moment. I got it. All right, I understand this now after months and months of trying something. This is finally working for me. I finally get it. I finally find out what I'm looking for. I finally understand what that progression was supposed to be all about, for example. There's many possibilities for a format. There's nothing prescribed or dictated by the IB for this. I think the digital format is probably the most obvious. Right now in our class, we're experimenting with a Google Drive notebook where they can throw in their MP3s, they can throw in their videos, they can throw in their music sequencing programs, they can throw in Word documents, they can throw in just about anything in there. So that becomes the most obvious. Again, but that's not limited to that. They can make films, video, photo collages. They can use QuickTime, for example. Flipgrid has been very popular. Padlet has been very popular. Google Docs, I suppose, is the most popular in terms of documentation and writing. OneNote is become very popular in terms of music notation and so on. PowerSchool Learning has this e-portfolio component, which could also be used as the IB component. Students create websites and have blogs in them. That's also a possibility. Students are now also creating their own YouTube channels, which I find interesting and novel. Notebook apps, there are plenty. Podcasts would be wonderful for including in class investigations, class projects, class interviews. Podcasts would be a wonderful idea. So look at this as providing an opportunity. Opportunities are like sunrises. If you wait too long, you miss them. It provides that moment. A journal will provide that moment to latch onto something, to latch onto that real engagement of learning and make something of it. It provides opportunity for thinking routines, a process, sort of a protocol of what we might go about when we're investigating new music. I hear a lot of talk about scaffolding, especially in terms of analysis and protocols in terms of presenting music. It offers opportunities for that, let's say with analyzing music. In the past, I've done this analysis tool of Mimi, Hami, Fostai, Ko, means, meter, melody, harmony, and so on. It provides an opportunity to document that, to have them go on and look at that, those types of things. Mind maps have become very, very popular in terms of musical elements, in terms of scaffolding techniques. Again, I said earlier, I provide daily journaling time. I'm telling them how important I think that this actually is, and I want to emphasize that by modeling that. I want them to do daily journaling. It's conducive to a journal environment, okay, that we make this part of our culture, our class culture. Opportunities, it's open-ended and creative. There may be no final product in lots of these parts of the journal, okay. It talks about different ideas. It's sort of like the easel that the artist has, mixing all different sorts of colors together. The process of mixing those colors and finding texture in a piece of music, for example. Listening. I think listening, we can't emphasize that enough. In many of my improvisation courses that I've taken and have been participating in, I include listening as 90% of improvisation. Certainly it's not limited to improvisation. It's true of also creating and of your own performances. Listening is a very valid part of it. What are we listening for? How are we listening? How are we documenting our listening? How are we grabbing hold of what are we listening? What do we find important in listening? Those are all very, very important issues in music. Guiding questions. We've talked about this area of inquiry or using this culture of inquiry in our teaching provides a wonderful opportunity for that. And of course, self-reflection, peer reflection, okay, sharing ideas with other students, getting input from other students as far as their input, their perspective on things, offers you the opportunity for critique, positive feedback, reflection, interaction with the student. So what are some things you'd hope to see in a journal? What would distinguish a good journal from a rich, powerful journal? Okay, what would we want to see? Documentation of outside school experiences. A journal wouldn't have to necessarily be, and hopefully not be, those things that were just limited to the classroom with the in-school experiences. But students would be so motivated to go outside the school into different concert halls or different studios, or talk to different musicians, or perform with different musicians, or seek concert opportunities outside of their own environment, and document those in their journal. Random captures. I encourage my students, if they hear something and it's on their phone, if they hear something exciting, it's as easy as just pressing the record button on your phone and including that in your journal. Responses from credible moving pieces heard or performed. You heard something, write it down. Write it down. What is it that you heard? Can you provide the link to it? Before you forget, write it down what it is you heard, and we'll come back to it in your journal. It's the identification of one's personality. I often say music is what feelings sound like. It describes you. It is you. It is almost like a window to your soul and window to your spirit. That's what a journal should be doing. Excuse me. That doesn't necessarily mean that there could be disagreements or dislikes. You investigate the pro and the con in the journal. It doesn't necessarily have to be all good news. There can be provocations in the journal. There could be discrepancies in the journal. There could be disagreements. There could be dislikes in the journal as far as what bothers the student, what's wrong with some of the things that music is associated with. Its ability to break apart from their own preferred music and investigate the unknown and make relationships between that. Another thing the journal could be doing. It's culminating moments and experiences. Again, finding those aha moments when you think, oh, I got it. Yes, I'm going to write that down. This is unique. This is something that I want to keep as part of my music experiences in school. And finally, there's evidence of good research. In the journal, you already want to put down those citations, those references, those illustrations. Where did you get it from? How did you get it? How do you know this is the case? Can you cite it? Can you reference it? Is it good work? So words of wisdom from the wise old owl. Here we go. Keep an open mind as a teacher and a student. There's no right or wrong to journals. It can go in various directions. It's not dictated by any means. That's the exciting thing about the journal. You really don't know which direction it could take. And for each student, the journal would be different. Interact frequently, teacher to student and peer to peer. All right. Offer that moment when you can delve into a journal and you can see the types of works that are going on, the kind of thinking involved. Be honest. This is kind of a difficult one at the beginning. You have to seek that trust, and you have to seek that honesty with yourself and with others in your class. You have to be willing to risk and stick your neck out and care for one another in the class. Again, learner profile is very inherent here. All right, but you want to build that culture of trust and honesty within the class, and that should be evident within the journal. Keep it safe. Critique, but be positive and supportive. Critique doesn't mean negative. Critique means I see something, I want to challenge you on this. If I keep on saying to my students, I say to them, if I keep on telling to you, hey, it's great, it's great, it's great, I'm really not doing you a service as a teacher. Part of my job as an educator is to say, okay, this is good, but have you thought about it from this perspective? It's okay not to know, and that goes for the teacher as well. Find out together. I would consider that actually an honor. If a student it gets onto a topic where I don't know the answer to this, they have to trust me, and I have to be honest with them enough to say, you know what? I don't either. I don't know the answer. I thought that would be a sign of really, really deep constructive learning. They're really digging in. If I don't know the answer to that, well, okay, that's cool. Let's find out together. We're really onto something here. Trust, I've talked about that with honesty. Focus on the why as well as the how and what. In a bit, I'm going to go over questions, how we could go about asking questions and building this culture of inquiry. And there's no right or wrong to a journal, all right? It's very, very open-ended. It's a process. So those are some words of wisdom. Possible prompts for performance. All right, so I'm having my students break up my thoughts on the journal or their thoughts within the journal based on the creating option and the performance option. So let's look at this performance option. And you want their prompts to be ungoogleable questions. All right, so for example, okay, there's our question guy. What was on your mind at the time of the performance? What went well with the performance or the practice session? What didn't go well? What are you worried about? Where are the shortcomings of this? What do you need to spend more time on? Be honest with yourself. Trust yourself. Role play. If you were the director of the ensemble, say the band, what would you say or do with the group? Put yourself in the role of the conductor. How would you bring it to the group? Where do you think it should go? What musical elements were effective or not? What did you do with technique, with articulation, with phrasing, with intonation, with communication? Did the performance have a purpose or meet a need? Was it usable? What was the intention of the performance? Again, you can role play. If you were a music critic and you were listening to the recording, what would you say? Or better yet, what would your peers say? Again, these are great prompts for the performance aspect of your journal. Did you enjoy it? Did you have fun? Why? Why not? Was it okay? Did you enjoy what you're doing? Are you enjoying your experience in music? Why or why not? And finally, what aspect of the performance was especially meaningful? Why? What did it say to you? What did it speak to you? What are your thoughts on this? Some more prompts, this time for the creating aspect of the journal. Again, this could be another folder in the journal. I'm not saying you have to do it that way, but it could be a possibility. What was the intention of your piece? Did you meet it? Why? Why not? What do you like most about your piece? What don't you like about your piece? What are you going to do about it? Tell me. Document it. What's going wrong with the piece? How are you going to find out? What would you hope the listener to say about your work? We get to intention here. Role play. If you were a music critic, what would they say about your work? What would peers say about your work? What would be the good? What would be the critique? What are the things you need to work on? Are you able to break your piece down to their own musical elements? Can you talk about the form, the structure, the harmony, the melody, the phrasing, the articulation, the intent of the piece? And finally, did you enjoy the work? Was it nice to listen to? Why or why not? Why were you frustrated with it? Did you put it away for a while and come back to it? What did you get out of this? So, possible setups. Let's say you were going to do your journal and organize this per area of inquiry. So, you could do it through music for social political expression. Again, these 4 areas of inquiry, which we talked about before. You could set up a journal in terms of these areas of inquiry and justify the areas of inquiry in your journal. You could do it per context. Again, this is what I'm doing in my journal. I'm not saying that you need to do it in yours, but I'm setting it up per context and per component. Okay, the personal, is it local or is it global music? Where do you find it? And again, there are ways to organize this. I can share those with you at another time. I'm experimenting with something right now with organizing these 3 contexts. You can do it by role. Okay, what about these 3 roles? Do they look familiar? Yes, you have the researcher, the creator, and the performer. Yes, you could set it up by role, or you could set it up by component. Remember the 3 standard level components? Sure. And the higher level component, the contemporary music maker. Okay, I'd like to share a video with you real quickly right now of somebody that I thought is really making a good series of music journaling. And I'm going to see if I can play this for you here right now. This is Sarah Joy, and she talks about ways of keeping a practice journal and how that might be effective. Let's see if I can get this to work. Here we go.
Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you what my practice journal looks like all of the secrets will be revealed. Everyone keeps theirs a little bit differently, so how I keep my journal is not necessarily how you have to keep yours. This is just a suggestion. Also, I don't write in mine every single day. Maybe every other day. For you, you might want to write in it every week or every month. This is just a way for you to keep track of your progress. Maybe this will help to keep you motivated. And of course, it's always good to write things down that you might forget later, such as notes to yourself for a specific measure and a specific piece. I don't really like to clutter up my sheet music with too many notes. I do take notes in my sheet music, but I would prefer to write it down in this notebook and go back and look at that later. For example, I need to relax my thumb and think about breathing in this specific measure of that specific piece. Having it down in a notebook where I can go back and I can review my notes on that day's practice and what I learned that day, it just helps so much. So hopefully today's video helps. Let's get started. I'm going to have to figure out a way to show you what I wrote down. I'm not sure how this is going to work yet because I don't think you can see anything right now. I don't think so, so I'm going to figure this out. Okay guys, I hope this works and I hope that you can see everything okay. I basically divide my practice time up into 3 big sections. If I practiced a lot more orchestra music, then I would include a 4th section. But for now, the first one is my warm-ups, my exercises, all of that. The second one, etudes and Bach. I group both of those together. And then my third one is repertoire. I am working on more pieces than just the Schumann, but I didn't really bother writing anything else about those other pieces. So underneath warm-ups, I write down every exercise that I do that day. So for example, today was my shifting exercise, my circle exercise, and my vibrato exercise. Now under each of these, I write my notes. So for the shifting exercise, I need to relax my thumb more. I'm probably not going to remember that tomorrow unless I write it down today. And tomorrow I need to practice with drone. I didn't have time to do that today, so just making a note to myself for that. The next one, circle exercise, I need to drop my shoulders and breathe, check my elbow halfway through. Vibrato exercise, allow for more release. Tomorrow apply to C-sharp major scale. And some of these things you may not understand, or probably not many people would understand my notes, but they make sense to me. So whatever you have to write down to understand what you mean, then that's what's important. In my second section, my etude right now, technically it's a caprice, but I treat it like an etude. So Piatti number 12, measures 1 through 10. I am not ready to play it up to tempo yet, even though I keep wanting to and trying to, but I need to stop it. So writing a note to myself, play from string or start from string, really, really important. Relax instantly after each chord, limit amount of bow. You know, just things that make sense to me. Bach, Prelude, Suite 4, stop playing so far out in the bow, measure 75 and measure 76. So don't be afraid to, call out certain measures, get really detailed, and, encourage yourself. Like today, it was much more relaxed than it was yesterday, so I'll write that down. There's progress right there. Tomorrow, I want to record it to check phrasing choices, repertoire for the Schumann concerto in A minor, movement 2. So here, beware of triplets, breaking the textures, so don't let those pop out, or delicate phrase endings, and then, things that you need to work on and that maybe you're not happy about that day, but things that will get better with time, so double stops. Thank you guys for watching today's video. I do hope that it helped. If you have any additional comments or questions, put those in the comment section below. As always, love what you do, practice well, share it with others, and stay tuned for next week's video.
Sarah Joy has done a lot of really good work with journal keeping, music journal keeping, and I would encourage you to check out some of her work. So thank you for watching this. For more videos and so on, you can access my website, Global Music Concepts, at globalmusicconcepts.com. Much of the information here was gathered from the IB Music DP Subject Guide. So again, I hope you found this helpful. I wish you very happy journaling. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.